Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. My name's Catherine. I'm a crochet designer from South London in the UK, where I live with my husband and my two daughters. And this is my podcast where I like to chat about my recent crochet and knitting projects that I've been working on. As I said, I'm a crochet designer, and I'll pop links to my pattern stores on Etsy and Ravelry below in case you want to check any of them out. And also I'll pop links to all the other places you can find me on social media like Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing. I also have an email list which you're very welcome to sign up to, and you get a monthly newsletter from me, plus pattern release news and exclusive discounts and things like that. So there'll be a link for that below as well. Welcome to today's podcast. Thank you for joining me. Before we start, I just want to apologise in advance because I've got a boiler person coming anytime now really. Although I'm not too convinced by their timekeeping because they were actually due to arrive yesterday. So I thought I'd dive in, make a start with the podcast anyway, and chances are I'll be able to film the whole thing before they arrive. But if not, and we do get interrupted, apologies in advance. I'll come back obviously and finish up afterwards. So I think it's going to be quite a quick episode today, but I wanted to get in the habit of filming a little bit more regularly than I used to, just because otherwise I find it a bit hard to warm up to it again. So while I'm sort of feeling a bit more in the flow of podcasting more regularly now, I thought I'd try and keep going with it. So I haven't got masses to share with you, but I have got 2 finished objects and 1 new project, which I hadn't started last time, which is nearly finished. So hopefully plenty to interest you as well. So grab yourself a drink and maybe a whip to work on while I'm chatting, and let's get started. So the first project, which I'm going to show you is one which I did show it in my last episode, and it was very nearly finished, and now it is completely finished. And this is, well, I say completely finished, it is finished, but I do still need to block it. And it is the molting shawl that I've been designing this for a challenge with the Hobby Yarn company, and it's called Hobby Natural Beauty. So the challenge was to design something inspired by nature. So as you can see, this has got, well, hopefully you can tell there's supposed to be leaves around the edge, so that's the natural inspiration. So I was quite close to finishing it last time. I think I just had a bit more to do, and it kept curling up when I was trying to show the edging, but now it's finished. I haven't even blocked it yet actually, but now it's finished, and I've added this final edging to it. You can see it's not curling up anymore, but I think it'll look even better when it's finished, when it's blocked, sorry. So the edging I added, it's just quite a simple picot edging to it, so mixture of stitches and then with a little picot, which I think just finishes it off nicely, and then obviously lined it all up so that this bit here has a picot right on the tip. Oh, it's going off a bit to one side, isn't it? Straighten that up for you. So this, I've written up the pattern as well, and the pattern is now out with my testers, and I've given them a few weeks to do it because it is quite a fair bit of crocheting really to do, and not everybody has hours and hours every day to spend crocheting, do they? So I gave them a month to do it, so I've asked for them to complete the test and provide their feedback by early June. So I'm hoping to get the pattern then released sort of early to mid-June time, shortly after that. So I won't talk too much more about it because I have spoken about it, I think in at least the last episode, probably the one before that as well. So you can always, if you miss those, you can go back and watch and find out a bit more about the yarn and that sort of thing, if you'd like to. And obviously if you've already heard, you don't have to listen to me say all the same things all over again. I'll show you the back because it's always nice, isn't it, sometimes to see what the back looks like. So obviously there's not really such a pattern on the back as on the front, but it is very neat. And I think what's quite nice as well actually is this part here with the overlay crochet. It does give it quite a nice weight, so it sort of hangs quite nicely. And I'll pop it on so you can see what it looks like on. It's getting finally it's getting warm here now. I think it's supposed to go up to about 20 degrees today, which will be nice. So it's not really the time to be wearing shawls, but this is how I normally like to wear mine, sort of really cozy, and yeah, I think I'm really pleased with how that's turned out, just the right size. So all the, just push myself up a bit, all the points come down to about the same length, and yeah, it's really nice and warm and soft. So yeah, I'm looking forward to releasing that with you as well. Should be, like I said, in a few weeks, so possibly the next episode or the one after that, I'm not sure, depends when I film next. The pattern will be released. So yeah, that's the moltings shawl, and the only thing is blocking that I've still got to do. I did lay it all out ready to block, and then I realised it wouldn't fit on the mats that I had. So then I ordered some more mats, which have arrived now, which is a good thing really. I should have done that years ago because most of my projects are biggish things. So I've needed more mats to make a bigger blocking area for ages. So I've got them now. They came, I ordered them just on Amazon, and they came in like a brown paper, almost like a paper bag with a sticky flap. So nice and recyclable, but I haven't even opened them yet actually, but it's all ready to go once I finally get the motivation ready to actually block it. But maybe tomorrow, I'll try and prioritise that for tomorrow's job. So yeah, that's project number 1, which is finished, and the next project is another finished project, but it's actually knitting, and these I'd only just started them in the last episode. So it's a pair of socks, and I think last episode I'd done I knitted them 2 at a time, and I'd done the cuffs and the very first few rounds, and it was sort of curling up, but I was trying to hold it up and show you in it, and it was all curling. But these have now been finished, and these are, well, you can see that they're Shorty socks, but they're made with the simple Shorty socks pattern from MSC Makes. I'll pop a link to it below if you want to find it as well. It's a basic sort of vanilla sock pattern, but it's very clear and well written, and she's also got accompanying video tutorials on her YouTube channel as well. And she's recently, it's just finished, she ran a knit along to make a pair of Shorty socks, and that is why I've got them finished in, for me, what an absolute record time of 3 weeks, because the idea of the cal was to make the socks in 3 weeks, and to be in, there were some prizes, and to be in with a chance of winning a prize, you had to finish the socks and post a picture on it, post a picture of them on Instagram to be in with a chance of winning a prize. So I took that as like my motivation and really went for it and tried to make sure I finished the socks in 3 weeks, because otherwise I would have spent a lot longer over them and wouldn't have prioritised them so much. So I'm really pleased that I did finish them and get them made. And I received really exciting news from Emma the other day when she drew the prizes. I actually won one of the prizes. I couldn't believe it. Just completely random names in a hat. And there were 3 prizes, and I've won one of them. So it's one of 2 prizes from Beehive Yarns. She offered 2 sock sets as prizes, so I don't know which one I'm going to get. I'll pop up a little picture just so you can see, and when it arrives in the next episode I'll show it to you. But it's, well, I think one is a blue one and one is a yellow one, and I haven't been asked which one I prefer, so I'm quite pleased really, because I don't know which one I'd choose, so I'm quite looking forward to the surprise. So I was really happy to not only have the socks finished, which I'm dead chuffed with, but then to also win a prize for it as well is absolutely amazing. So I was over the moon about that. Yeah, I did talk about the socks a bit more in the last episode, but just a quick recap. So the pink yarn is from Peak District Yarns. I bought that when we were on holiday in the Peak District last Easter, and it's called The Colour of Fleas. Like I said last time, I don't really know why. I think it's quite a strange name, but I do like the colour, even though it's got a strange name. And as I was working with it, I wasn't entirely sure. Sort of close up, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like all those shades of pink. But then from a distance, I really like the overall effect. And the cuff and the toe are made with obsidian, like this colour's called, and it's from Fruitful Fusion. And I have used it in a couple of pairs of socks already before, but had some left over. And as I said before, I had a few options of sock yarns that I could use for these socks. None of them really jumped out at me as being a perfect combination, and I was tempted to buy some new yarn for the sock along, but then I thought I don't get through sock yarn really quickly, so it would be a bit daft not to use what I've got. So I decided this was my best combination in the end, and actually now it's all done and looking from a distance, I am quite happy with that colour combination. And yeah, really happy to start using and wearing these socks. I'll show you what I've got left of the yarn. I have got now just this little tiny bit left of the obsidian. I don't know, do you think that's, I haven't weighed it. Do you think that was probably enough, isn't it, to do a couple of cuffs if I ever knitted another pair of socks? Don't know if it would do cuffs and toes for a pair. And then, because I did them two at a time, I had to split my main colour yarn in two. I didn't do it for the toes and the cuffs, I just did all one cuff and then all another cuff. But for the main bit of the sock, doing them two at a time, I needed to split them. So I wound off a bit, and that's what's left of the bit I wound off. I made sure I'd wound off plenty compared to what I thought I'd need. So that's what's left of it. Although at one point I was quite worried that I hadn't wound off enough, but obviously there is still quite a bit left, more than, what I was about saying, tiny bit more of that than there is that, and all of that. So now it's a bit awkward, isn't it, having this and this. Depends what I'm going to make next really with it. That is the downside, I guess, isn't it, of knitting things two at a time, is having to split your yarn and cut it at a point where you might not necessarily have wanted to. But I think knitting them two at a time was definitely, for me, like the quickest way to do it and the best way to track how close I was to the end and make sure I got there in time. So those are my Shorty socks, which I'm really pleased with and looking forward to wearing. Next project is a whip, which I have started since the last podcast and now very nearly finished. I showed you the yarn for this last time, and this is another project for hobby, for a hobby yarn challenge, and it's for, they're getting ready for Granny Square month, which I don't know if it's just their Granny Square month, or there seems to be lots of yarn companies or magazines do Granny Square month, and I don't know if it's always exactly the same month. I have a feeling it was sometimes, or some people do it in August, but I think hobby is saying Granny Square month is July. Anyway, doesn't really matter, but they've set a challenge to design a new project with come up with a new design using granny squares that could be anything apart from, I think it's not allowed to be a blanket. I know it's not allowed to be a blanket, so it could be anything else you wanted. So I showed this to you last time, I chose Hobby's Tweed Dreams yarn in these colours. I got mostly white, one ball of this lime green and one ball of this darker green. Sorry, I had two balls of the darker green. And I decided to make a granny square bag. This is what I was trying to explain to you last time about the arrangement of 5 granny squares on each side, and then one here, and one here to sort of fold over. And I hoped you all knew what I meant, but if you didn't, this is what I meant. So I made these granny squares. There's 13 of them all together, and joined them, and I joined them last night and turned them into a bag. So it's not completely finished yet, but I think, you know, it is, obviously it's now in the form of a bag. all the ends from where I joined it. I'll turn it inside out for you. That's the inside, so I've still got all the ends from joining to weave in. When I joined it last night, it was dark, and I wasn't so sure about how it was looking. I wasn't 100% sure about it. They didn't sort of look how I thought they'd look joined together. But now looking at it in daylight, I'm really happy with that. So obviously I've got to sew in the ends. I'm going to use the dark green to do like a upper edging all around each peak, up and down over each peak on both sides of the bag. And one of my daughters was telling me I should get a pair of leather handles for it, which would look really good, but I don't think I'm going to splash out on leather handles. I'm not sure, maybe I'll have a little look. If anyone's got any suggestions of good places to get them from, let me know. I think it would go brown, dark brown leather would look good, wouldn't it? Or like a tan colour. But I think I'll probably just crochet a pair of handles also, probably just in plain dark green. I think just using the dark green will sort of finish it off quite neatly. And then I need to think of a name for it as well. But this morning, seeing this in the light of day, I'm feeling quite happy with how it's looking at the moment. And yeah, one thing I also really liked as I was making it, because it's with, not sure if I mentioned this last time, but this middle bit here and the outer round as well. So all the rounds, actually, there's 4 rounds, all the rounds apart from the third, use tapestry crochet to change colour. And a sort of a thing with tapestry crochet for some people is whether or not you can see the carried yarn, the yarn that's being carried along through the stitches. And this is it's quite a thick, squishy yarn, so the stitches are relatively tight, so I think it's quite good at covering the carried yarn. But also what's quite nice, and I personally I know some people really don't like it and think, oh no, it's showing through, that's not good enough. I don't mind that in my tapestry crochet projects, because I think when you're working on them, you're looking at them quite closely, and so you can see it really clearly. When you're looking at a blanket or something from a more natural distance, it's not noticeable. And even if it is slightly, it just sort of adds to the kind of texture, the coloured texture, if that makes sense, of the blanket. But what's quite good with these tweed yarns, for example, is if you look closely, so the tweedy colour in the light green is actually the same colour green as is in the dark green. So if you get one of them sort of peeping through a bit through the other, it just looks like a natural part of the yarn anyway. So that's quite a good tip, is if you're sort of a bit particular perhaps about your yarns showing through on tapestry crochet, is to go for tweedy yarns like this in sort of colours that have got a bit of each other in them, and then you don't have to worry about it so much. It's not so obvious. So yeah, hopefully in the next episode, I'm sure quite soon, I'll have this finished off, definitely by the next episode, and turned into a bag, and then I'll just have to write up the pattern for it as well. So that will be coming soon too, probably by late June or July, something like that. And I need a name. I'm not sure what to call this one actually, so if you've got any ideas, do let me know. Nothing is jumping out at me at the moment. But that is my third and final project for today. So yeah, it has been quite a quick episode, but I hope you've enjoyed catching up on what I've been up to. Just made some notes on what I want to work on next. So I think I went through them last time really, but I might have mentioned quite a few, but my priorities are designing and making a blanket for a friend. There's no rush on that, but I'm really like to get started on that. So I'm going to come up with a few ideas for that and send them to her. and then she can pick what she wants to go for, and then I'll have to order the yarn and get going on that. And then that will probably be a project that I keep working on over the summer, ready for her to have in the autumn. So that I'm going to try and get started on over the next week. I'm going to do because I think it'll be quite quick and satisfying. So if you've seen the last few episodes, you'll know this year, 2024, is all about stash busting for me. I'm trying to get rid of a lot of my yarn that's just been hanging around for ages. So I'm going to make some crochet baskets with it, various sizes, holding probably mainly cotton yarn, 2 or 3 or more strands together, and just making some big crochet storage baskets, because I think they're always handy, and I could put more yarn in them, can't I? So I'm going to make one of those, and I think that I'll probably be able to make really quickly, to be honest. So that will be a good, quick, tick, satisfying project. And then I'm going to start also work on the honeysuckle jumper that I mentioned, honeysuckle sweater, sorry, that I mentioned last time. So yeah, finish the bag, start planning the blanket, make a basket, and then start work on the honeysuckle sweater that I wanted to make for myself. And then knitting wise, I had a pair of socks where I've made the first one, and then I put that pair of socks on hold while I was doing the Shorty sock knit along. So I'm going to start going on the second sock on that, but that's just going to be a low pressure background project for me to pick up and work on just when I feel like a bit of knitting. But I'll probably get that started so it's sort of on the needles and ready to pick up whenever I feel like knitting. So those are the 4 projects that hopefully by the next time I see you, I'll have some progress to show you on all of them. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. And yeah, it's been quite a quick one, but sometimes that's nice, isn't it? Nice to give an update, and then it doesn't take too much of your time to watch it either, does it? So thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful time until I next see you. Take care. Bye bye.